you're going to do a horror film, this is the formula. You got to have a killing every 15 minutes. You know, you got to have a chase, and you might have the occasional little nudity scene, but that is your formula.
A good horror movie, like a lot of good movies, especially horror movies. Oh my God, get the hell out of there! Don't open the door!
Paige here.
It was the beginning of a time when everybody was starting to get interested in making these little movies.
Our movie was not realistically gruesome.
We're politely asked to get the hell off the campus.
Blood Cult made the industry sit up and take notice and changed the industry and started really direct-to-home video movies.
Since I only spent $75 on the entire movie, I made a profit pretty quick.
It was kind of a fun kind of time.
It was an adventure.
Lord, have mercy on us all. They're here, and they're coming for us.
I told somebody, you know, you can go downtown Tulsa on a late Saturday afternoon or all day Sunday, and there is nobody. It's like Omega Man. It's like the downtown area is gone. There's nobody down there. And I said, you can make a great movie down there and not have to worry about anything because there's nobody down there. It's a good town to make horror movies in.
In the early 80s, Francis Ford Coppola came to town, shot a couple of S.E. Hinton stories, The Outsiders and later on Rumblefish. Susie Hinton, of course, being from Tulsa. And I think Tulsa kind of got the movie fever then.
Francis really broke that ice. If you were on any of those sets, there was a lot of people interested in what was going on, and they brought Hollywood here.
After Coppola left, it was only a couple of years before Blood Cult was made, which started that revolution in direct-to-home video movies. I think Coppola had something to do with it. I think just the idea, just getting it kind of in the dream stream, getting it where people were thinking about making movies in Tulsa. And then Christopher Lewis was here in Tulsa. He was his son of Loretta Young. He was a Hollywood guy.
Well, I had parents that were in the filmmaking business. My mother was a big movie star during the 1930s and 40s, and my father was a producer. So in my family, you more or less went into the motion picture business. That's all we knew. So I knew really early on that I was going to be in the movies somehow, some way.
My husband, Christopher, who ended up directing, of course, Blood Cult, Ripper Revenge, and Dan Turner, was a USC grad and had gone to school with, George Lucas and Randall Kleiser and that group. So he wanted to make a movie.
And Christopher's sister was in New York, and she was making soap operas and shooting them on video. And Chris, I think that's one of the reasons Chris got the idea, well, if you can shoot an hour-long soap, why couldn't you shoot a movie on video?
I was the one that came up with the idea to call it the first made-for-video movie. And Dad I got a little blowback from him because, he thought, well, do we really want to advertise the fact that, it's video? But we went ahead and went out with that strategy, and it seems to have worked.
What a lot of people don't realize is film is dimensional, and it absorbs light in a dimensional way, whereas videotape, especially at that time, is flat. There's no depth to it. It's just flat.
Well, Bill Blair at United Entertainment had a script he'd co-written with a doctor called The Sorority House Murders. And for years, they planned on having the actor Buster Crabbe, who plays Tarzan and Flash Gordon, Buster Crabbe as the lead. Well, Buster Crabbe had died, but they still had this script. And when Chris got the idea to maybe do a movie on video, the script was there. Linda Lewis talked to Bill Blair. She knew he had the script, and Christopher and Linda Lewis and Bill Blair got together, and that's how Blood Cult was made.
Bill was a avant-garde guy. He got into the distribution business of independent films really early. Back in the 50s, he was distributing movies on film to movie collectors.
The reason they did a horror movie is because in the movie business, it's always been an axiom that if you can make a horror movie cheaply enough, you're going to make money because people will watch horror movies just as a genre.
Blood Cult came about in a, you know how organically things just roll out, right? So, and I was working at FM 96 radio in Tulsa, and I was doing an interview show where I would fly to New York or whatever and interview, when a new movie was released, interview the stars and then bring that footage back here and edit it for a show that was placed on. Bob Blair at VCI had his own TV channel, and Bill would come in while I was editing and just, you know, shoot the breeze. Said, I have a really bad script that I've written and $25,000. Can you make a movie? And I said, yes, we can. I had no idea if we could make a movie or not.
One of the strangest series of crimes in recorded history took place on a small Midwestern college campus. Each victim was a sorority co-ed.
Debbie, was that you? Are you still awake?
Each time the killer struck, he mutilated his victim. He took one of her body parts and then left a golden amulet near the body. And the only clue, the story of an ancient witch cult of dog worshippers, though to be long dead, known only as the Blood Cult. Blood Cult, the first movie made especially for the home video market, is a film you won't soon forget.
I was at the Tulsa World working in the entertainment section at the time the Blood Cult was made. Now, my beat really wasn't movies. We had a guy named David Wilson who did our movie reviews and stuff. Well, they had contacted him, Chris and Linda and Bill Blair had contacted him that they were getting ready to shoot this film. Well, he looked at it. It's a horror movie. It's low budget, and he had no interest whatsoever. He says, look, if you want to do this, here's where they're going to be shooting it. And so I covered what was essentially the first real made-for-home video movie. One of the things that I did when Blood Cult first came out was I called up Vestron and all these different video distributors around the country, the big video distributors, and said, would you ever consider doing a movie like this? And they all said, oh, no, it's a three-legged stool. When somebody makes a movie, theatrical release, then we get television rights, and then we go to home video. We would never eliminate the movie. Well, Chris, Bill Blair, Linda came up with the idea of bypassing theatrical features completely. You didn't have to bump it up, put it on 35 millimeter. You could shoot it directly on video. They shot it on beta, and then did it transfer and get it right out to home video release.
Blood Cult was shot in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it was shot actually during the spring of 1985. And why Tulsa? Well, we were all living in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the time. We structured the movie to shoot in 9 days. Then my wife went to Sony, and they had just invented the camcorder, basically, a thing called a beta cam. So we needed equipment to shoot the movie, and we didn't have a lot of money. So we went to Sony and said, if you will give us the equipment to shoot the movie and to edit it on it, we will give you credit at the end of the movie. And they saw that, that the video craze was coming on, and people were going to use these camcorders more and more. So they supported us. They gave us editing gear for the Betacam and 2 Betacams.
Home video distribution in 1985 was still predominantly VHS and beta video cassettes. The video store was the predominant place where you would go and rent videos, on your Friday night, Saturday night. It was a fun time in the world of home entertainment.
You'll notice another thing in the promotion of the first movie. We mentioned on all the ads that it was banned on 2 Midwestern college campuses. And it was, because our filming it was banned on the colleges, let me put it that way, because they didn't know what kind of a movie we were making. They didn't want to be involved with a horror movie.
We actually were politely asked to get the hell off the campus. So we were banned, and that's, in video marketing, that's a plus, particularly if you're trying to sell a scary horror movie.
Could a witch cult begun in 1700 be active today? Could it be killing co-eds? And why? That is what a small-town sheriff, Ron Wilboyce, must find out. As he delves deeper and deeper into the mystery of the college murders, he discovers that the blood cult is after him.
One reason we picked horror was it's cheap and you do shoot at night and you can get away with a lot, but we did not have a level of gore masters here, so we ended up using some local kids who were really good and fun.
David Powell and Robert Brewer were their names, and the FX Studios really did a great job in this movie, and without them we couldn't have really done it.
But our gore was almost ludicrous, really, looking back on it. Our throat-slitting scenes and all of that, they're making masks of throats, and when we cut it, they lean back and it looks like masks. It doesn't look that realistic. So I think we took the gore as a fun thing.
When Chris and Linda Lewis and VCI came to me about the music on Blood Cult, that was and the sound design originally, and they were talking about, they had this video movie that they were going to make, and they didn't have any budget, so they wanted to use some of my library music, and they were offering me a ridiculously low amount of money, and but I said yes, because it was the beginning of a time when everybody was starting to get interested in making these little movies. What turned out was that we ended up treating it like a big Hollywood movie. We did all the sound effects custom. We didn't use libraries. We didn't use any library music. I did all the music custom to the screen. So the audio gave them a real sense of, hey, this is a real deal movie,
On that picture, I was basically an assistant director. We all carried several hats, so if I say assistant director, well, I carried cases and I helped the cameraman and, set up shots. They came up with a concept. Wouldn't it be good if a bum, a drunk, or whatever, came out of a dumpster and scared the bejesus out of her? So I said, I'll do it. Give me a hat, give me a coat, and I jumped in this dumpster. Boy, that was a mistake, because I stunk for about 2 days.
They had the premiere in Tulsa of Blood Cult in the basement of the Doubletree Hotel at Warren Duffy's. My friend Ron Wolf, who was covering it for the Tribune, which was the evening paper in Tulsa, I was covering it for the World. We were sitting in different areas. Ron is sitting behind this really nicely dressed couple, and they start working on the dead dog. She turns to the man and she says, "Oh, look, now they've cut the head off of a bear." And she says, "I told you we overdressed for this."
So here's how it went. We spent $27,000 on the movie. He spent about $120,000. That's, 5 times what it cost, promoting it, going to the convention, selling it to distributors, and to the home mom and pop video stores. We had orders for $450,000 worth of video cassettes the day that it premiered.
Within a few weeks, they'd made $1 million.
The movie wasn't any Academy Award winner, but it served its purpose.
We knew from the get-go that it was not going to be Gone with the Wind. You know, we knew that we were under severe limitations, and we were all novices at it. Christopher had the education for it, but none of us had ever done it. We were in TV and radio. But we jumped in and we shot it in 9 days, and we went over budget by $2,000. So we actually spent $27,000 to bring it in.
This was the one that made the industry sit up and take notice and changed the industry.
It was the beginning of a lot of video films.
Blood Cult was tremendously successful, and that's why we did other ones. It was a gamble when we started. We didn't know what would happen, but, you know, Bill Blair knew the business, knew what he could expect to get out of a title, and if we promoted a new movie that had never been seen before, maybe we could, you know, sell a few more copies.
After the release of Blood Cult, it became pretty obvious and really a no-brainer that, you know, we were going to follow it up with another horror film.
When we went from Blood Cult, we went to Ripper, and our budget went to $75,000. We were greeted on the second one with a little bit more, they've been here before. You know, we had a little bit of credibility.
Jack the Ripper carved his name into the history books in the East End of London during 1888. For 2 short months, the infamous killer sliced and slashed 14 women, and then, on the evening of November the 9th, disappeared, never to be heard from again.
Did you hear about that murder downtown? It's the one they're comparing to Jack the Ripper.
And just like you said, her guts were ripped out.
It's kind of weird having Jack the Ripper in our town after all these years.
Looks like you could have been there.
Now, after 100 years, the ghoulish Ripper legend lives on in America as a series of brutal slasher killings is linked to the reappearance of a century-old Baroque ring.
And I do enjoy an occasional challenge. However, I am not of the temperament tonight to put up with any more of this cat and mouse game.
Tom Savini, the master of movie gore, whose credits include Friday the 13th, Dawn of the Dead, and Creepshow, brings a new dimension of horror to his startling portrayal of history's most gruesome killer, Jack the Ripper.
Young man, you can't kill me.
For their second picture, which came out the same year, 1985, as Blood Cult, The Ripper, they got Tom Savini, who was the very well-known special effects makeup artist, who was also pursuing a career in acting.
At that time, when we started thinking about the next film we were going to make, we knew that it would be very helpful if we had a so-called name star.
I don't recall how we connected with Tom Savini. I think we were looking for a horror star that had a following. And this, of course, before any social media or anything. So you're just kind of looking at other movies and seeing what's popular. And then we pulled Tom Savini in, and I think our budget allowed us to fly him in for five days of shooting. So we had to make sure everything that he needed to be covered, all his coverage was done in that 5-day period. He jump-started that film for us, got a lot more attention.
Oh my God, who
Well, I should think that would be obvious.
And he was a joy to work with, but he, at the end, he did not love the end. The outcome of The Ripper was not his favorite film.
In this movie, we got a couple little extra things that we thought would help promote it, and one of it is music videos were very big at the time, and MTV was very big at the time. So we did a music video within the Ripper.
we had to do everything at night to cover a multitude of sins. And we had storms and craziness that all worked in our favor. Anything that nature threw at us, we tried to incorporate it in and make it work for the film. So, as you know, you get into the editing room and everything, every error is there for you to see. And in some cases, you can't fix it. Everybody's gone. So we were editing at Rod Slane's studio, and it was 4 in the morning, and we were we're editing the last scene, and it's a big murder scene. So Jack the Ripper is ready to slit the throat of the co-star. And we have made a big deal the entire film about him being left-handed.
And my wife is sitting in the back of the screening room, and she looks at it and said, "Look at Tom Savini's hand." I looked at his hand. Yeah, so what about his hand?
And I said, "Oh my God." I said, "Jack the Ripper's holding the knife in his right hand."
So you'll notice the film, when it was first released on video, Tom Savini had the knife in his right hand, which is against kind of the storyline and so forth. But when we went to do it, the home video, technology had changed, and we changed it around and flipped the shots. So those are kind of interesting behind-the-scenes stories that you hear once in a while.
Making The Ripper was the most fun of all. It just was a fun movie. And it was a beautiful summer in Tulsa, and we laughed and played and carried on. But I just think that was the most fun for some reason.
I should think that would be obvious.
Hey! Hey, you there! What the hell do you think you're doing?
For the third time in a year, United Entertainment Pictures is on location, making a feature-length motion picture especially for the home video market. But now the budgets have gotten bigger, and the producers have enlisted the help of well-known actors to bring their horror stories to the screen with even more impact.
Always a sequel is made because the first one did well. And because Blood Cult did very well, we decided, well, for our third movie, we'd make a sequel to Blood Cult and maybe, kind of cash in on the cachet that Blood Cult had.
By the time we started our third film, Revenge, which was a sequel to Blood Cult, we had more of a budget. But Christopher, being a film student at USC, was really, really jonesing to shoot on film, because the video it was raw. It wasn't beautiful. It was early days of video, and it was very video. And so, yeah, we graduated to 16.
Shooting on film made the film look more legitimate. It made it was easier to make it look real because it was shot on film. And I like 16 millimeter because it made it very portable to do, and it gave it a grainy look. So I like that. And it gave us a chance to work with Steve McWilliams, who's a director of photography out of Dallas, who is very talented. He's done a lot of really good things. And the other advantage of it too is we had 2 well-known actors that we brought on board. We figured, okay, the films do well on their own, but if we had legitimate actors that would give the show legitimacy, then let's go with it. So we had a much bigger budget. I think it was $150,000 on Revenge.
Revenge certainly was a great movie. We really came up with what we thought was a good cast with Patrick Wayne and John Carradine as 2 of the featured stars.
Revenge happened to be John Carradine's 500th movie, and he came in for 2 days, and we hired him to play this part. And then for the main character, we hired Patrick Wayne, who is John Wayne's son. And Patrick Wayne, his family and my family are very close. He told me he was between films. His daughter was going to USC, so we had to pay her tuition. and I think the real reason is he was just nice to me and wanted to give me a break.
The actor thing is really funny because we're living in Tulsa. We're used to the Tulsa way, and then the actors come in and they ask for the most absurd things, and you have to say yes. Like Patrick Wayne wanted a set of weights, and you're like, oh, great. So now I have to go to, Gold's Gym or whatever and buy weights, and I know this is not in my budget.
I'm being too indiscriminate in our recruitment. We're not screening these people properly. What if someone talks?
Let him. We've got the sheriff's office covered. If someone talks, we just thank him for being a good citizen. Then, poof, his house burns down in the middle of the night. Another damn fool smoking in bed.
John Carradine was fragile, really. And it was his next to the last movie that he was going to make. So he really gathered his resources, but between scenes, he was pretty much resting or napping or whatever. But when it was time, you watched this man pull himself together. You watched him literally drop 10 years, biological years off. When the costume came on and someone said action, he rose to the occasion.
Have eternity, Gracie Moore.
Come join us, Gracie Moore.
We did do an album for the Revenge movie. Result was they had more money. We were working with some actual movie star quality people involved, and so we were really ramping it up and trying to get it going.
He's back.
Who?
That damn motorcycle. He's back. Come on.
The soundtrack was released by VCI. I think they used it mostly for marketing, as a marketing tool with in those days they were selling videos still, and so they would, send them an album or something if they did that. I don't think any of the music ever charted or anything like that, but we didn't expect that.
Murderers! You killed my husband, and you're trying to drive me off my land? Thank God. It's over.
My favorite is, I don't really have a favorite. I like them all.
We didn't fool anybody into thinking it was great, but we did accomplish getting the industry to pay attention to this as a marketing tool, a marketing venture. Everybody could make a movie, really. Well, that's kind of what we taught, not on purpose, but, guerrilla filmmaking.
If we hadn't done it, maybe someone else would have done it down the road, but we were the first.
Now, Christopher Lewis had spent had made a film for about $20,000 or $30,000 that had grossed $1 million, Blood Cult, in '85.
Uh-huh.
How much did that grease the wheels, do you think, for getting financing for your picture?
It helped in that it showed that a low-budget film could be done with unknowns in this part of the country and be quite profitable. And so that enabled a lot of people to get financing and get going. It was one of these, well, maybe it'll happen if we can ever get enough money together to do it right. I would have wanted to do it top drawer for like $1 million or so, but that's a pipe dream, at least for a low-budget filmmaker. And we wound up getting about just under $100,000.
Let's go take a look, fellers.
Yeah, always did want to meet some little green men from space. Great thing.
Larry Thomas's Mutilations has to do with aliens that come to Earth, and also with cattle mutilations. And so, there's been all of this talk about aliens and cattle mutilations, and that's basically what Mutilations is about.
Are you all right?
I saw something horrible. There it is.
There's stop motion that's involved in it by a guy named John Fishner out of Texas. Did a bunch of stop motion stuff. He was a huge fan of Ray Harryhausen, the great stop motion animator. Did Jason the Argonauts, in all of those films.
John Bliss had heard about this production going into effect. He had considerable acting experience, both commercials and otherwise. If financing hadn't dried up or I'd gotten excellent distribution at the time, I think that we would have done several more projects together.
Lord, have mercy on us all. They're here, and they're coming for us.
David Powell and Robert Brewer, who were the guys who did the makeup effects and the special effects for Blood Cult and The Ripper and Revenge, did the same thing with Mutilations and with The Change. Both of them had Shelley Creel as in the lead role, and The Change is kind of a drama, but it's also got this horrific kind of nightmare sequence in it. Harvey Schell and Larry Thomas met at a flea market.
I was in a shop one time and Larry Thomas came in and he was looking for a person to play a rancher named Charlie Hill in his movie Mutilations. And I was there in my four-wheel drive pickup and my denim jacket with the fleece lining. And I walked in there and he said, on the phone, he said, I'll hang up now. Charlie Hill just walked in.
It must have been horrible for you.
Yes'm. But I'll tell you one thing. If whatever did that comes back, I'll be ready for him.
That's how I got the part.
I already knew Bill Buckner and Harvey Schell, and in my mind had parts for them. Then the young kids, I met all of them through Annette Hixenbaugh, and I felt like I could work with them.
Have you seen this? What's it say, Professor?
Well, it's a newspaper from Berryhill, dated last week. It says here that there's all sorts of weird luminous lights appearing in the sky just after dusk, collecting and forming in the north sky.
Ranchers and farmers reported the next morning they found several burned out patches of ground and several dozen cattle slaughtered, mutilated, and half-eaten.
How many sets you think you made for this picture?
Of the individual sets, there were about 18 or 20. And that includes cave sets, bathroom set, then at the school, the schoolroom and the professor's office, those were all sets. I'm a big fan of sets.
A lot of people who worked on the United Entertainment films, the 3 United Entertainment films that started everything, also worked on the Larry Thomas films. Paul Cowden, in fact, was the associate producer of Mutilations.
I had a lot more control on Mutilations, and that basically was because Larry Thomas had not made one, and there was a lot of people he knew and actors and everything that he was going to use, and so I got to guide it through the process. I had already had been an assistant director on hundreds of commercials. So it was just a natural for me to come in and organize. Well, I had started with blood cult, and it was just kind of a mini ego thing. When I did mutilations, we took it a step further, where I sat around a campfire with two other guys. I've got my bottle of whiskey, and the monster comes up, the so-called monster, and I go, "You ain't getting better than this." When I went on to Hollywood, I actually got directors to put me in scenes.
I've read this in review after review that they say, this film has heart to it. It was done by people who cared about what they were doing. And I think that makes a difference. You can tell it that when you see some low-budget films, you know they just did it to try to make a few bucks. Sure, we wanted to make a few bucks, but we wanted it to be a good product that we were proud of.
Professor! Say, we were worried about you, partner.
Thanks, Buck, but everything will be all right in a minute. I used a couple of sticks of dynamite I found in the tunnels to start it off.
Man, that old stuff's really got some kick to it.
Yeah? Well, everything will be all right now.
As long as we have each other.
Now we'll have peace in Berry Hill.
Vigilante Blood was not a horror picture. It was a horrible picture, but not a horror picture.
First he got it in the back. A few minutes after that, his throat was slit. Oh, by the way, here's one your boys missed.
Oh, God, no. Not the Vigilante again.
Well, I decided to make Vigilante Blood because no one else would do it. They all were for it, and they said, you go ahead and do it. So I got out a piece of paper and I wrote Act 1, Scene 1, night scene, and I just started, and I had no idea where it was going when I started, and it pretty well wrote itself with a lot of editing from my girlfriend.
And it's essentially a vigilante picture with a lot of horrific overtones. And he got Larry Thomas from Mutilations and the Change to come in and direct it.
Give me that stuff, please. Catch. No. I'm gonna kill you, man. As soon as I drink this, your guts are gonna be all over this alley. What is this stuff?
Justice, Jake. You see, there was nothing on that dart. And there was no antidote in that vial. You just drank the poison.
Well, we did a casting call for Vigilante Blood, and a lot of people showed up for it and had some very good actors. Larry suggested that Roxanne and I play the leads. It's not going to work. No one wants to see two middle-aged people running around. I wound up playing Lenny the Weasel, my sterling moment.
Not a fan. Not one pound.
Please don't hurt me. I can't have no money. Just let me go.
but I want more than that. I want lots more.
No,
One of our hoods did not show up, and John Wooley was there doing a article, and we were short a hood. I said, would you like to be a hood?
So I said, well, yeah, I'd be happy to do it.
I said, well, we have two here. This one says, you blankety blank, and the other one doesn't say anything. Well, I'd rather be the other one and not say anything because I have a young son or two. So we did the scene, and the guy who said you blankety blank was my nephew, and he looked the part, but he could not act his way out of a paper bag. So I had to switch, and John got to say you blankety blank.
Number 7, by the way, the vigilante, stabs him in the back, gets up in the field, and the vigilante just grips that knife and stabs me in the back.
We never actually revealed who the vigilante was. I thought of a good ending for it, but by then it was too late.
Hey, who's in that car?
The vigilante.
Hey, that's my car.
Ah, what the hell. Let him go.
We had the premiere at, I believe, Outback, and they had televisions all over the place. Of course, the best reception the movie would ever have, anyway, because everyone there worked on it, or almost.
All of us are just engrossed in vigilante blood. This very large family comes walking in, and they kind of look around. They go to the empty table, sit down, turn the channel to America's Funniest Home Videos.
Call the cops. Turn me over to the cops. I got a right to a trial.
No rights, Johnny. And no appeals. Sentence has been passed.
Johnny?
It never got much distribution at all.
You glad you tried it?
Oh yes, yes. I've made some friends that are still very special to me. Well, matter of fact, if that meant I wouldn't have met you.
After working on several of these movies for VCI, I was really getting kind of excited about maybe thinking about trying to do my own film, or at least directing a film.
Rod Slane did the soundtracks for Blood Cult, Revenge, and The Ripper. And in the 90s, he made his own picture. And it was called Subterfuge, unless it was in another country. And in some countries, they didn't have a word for subterfuge, so they had to change it to biokill.
All right, Robot, I want you to run an analysis on the outside air. I want you to see what that stuff is and how long we're going to be stuck in here.
Substance identified as micronic gas.
Yeah, well, I never heard of it. Run a breakdown.
Diagnosis, radon gas, 0.162%. Mercury vapor, 5.441%.
Biological weapon.
We did it local. I think we spent about 3 weeks out all over the Tulsa, Sand Springs area of town, and working with a pretty good sized crew.
Rod made this picture on his own, and again, a lot of other people came in from around here, including James Vance, as well as Milton Berry.
The Queen?
there's special effects, quite a few special effects. In fact, we used some of the special effects guys that Lewis's were using in their horror movies. First sale we made was Germany, and they sent back, they wanted more sex, less violence. And then our next sale was in Asia country, and they wanted more of everything. Anything we could put into it.
Never mind. Let's get out of here.
I wasn't the accountant on the film, but I can tell you that I think that all the money that was invested came back, and then some. Because it was science fiction, it goes everywhere. So it was pretty horrific, I suppose you could say.
Party Crasher, My Bloody Birthday, as you might imagine, was a slasher picture.
Party Crasher, written by another Tulsan, Mark Mason, was another film I was involved with. The best way to describe it would be like Halloween.
And he had a moving company. The moving company was called Budget Movers. So when he decided he wanted to get into making movies, he called his company Budget Movies.
Weird game some people play. Is this your version of getting under the sheets? Don't get rude, sweetheart. I was just kidding.
And it was almost a one-man show. I mean, Mark Mason wrote it, he starred in it, he directed it, he produced it, and he did the editing as well. And it's about a guy who is fed a bunch of LSD at a party. The kid, whose name is Henry Primo, he was named after a very famous car dealer here in Tulsa, goes nuts.
What are you doing here?
He made a mask, and when he put on the mask, he became an alter ego, and his alter ego would want to lash out, obviously, to the people that had wronged it.
Kill your own father, too?
My band, the Garage Doors, were the ones playing for the party. So once again, I got to do a little cameo in one of the Tulsa movies, and I'm playing the organ up there. We do a version of a reggae version of House of the Rising Sun.
Oh, that kid of ours. Honestly.
What is it, Henry?
How many?
At that time, Hollywood Video, which was the second biggest video chain next to Blockbuster, had a program for first-time directors, and they would take their films and release their films. And Mark Mason sent Party Crasher to them, and they took it. And they distributed it in all of their video stores and all over the place. And then it was picked up by Artist View Entertainment. And it got a really good video release. I remember him telling me that they were especially big in South Africa. that the film just did great in South Africa. Because of the success of that, he rolled that into a film called The Prize Fighter. And The Prize Fighter had Gary Busey in it. Tanya Harding is in it. Leon Spinks, the boxer, is in it. It's got really some stunt casting in it. It's a very interesting little picture. But he did that picture based on the fact that he was finally able to get distribution for Party Crasher.
Hey, Crash.
Kelly, calm down. It's okay. It's me. Everything's gonna be okay. Henry?
Yes?
Okay, you stay right here. Wait for help. Henry, drop the knife.
Do you think that Mark Mason achieved his vision with Party Crasher?
I think he was, yes and no. Mark Mason, I think, came to the realization that it was his dream, just like a lot of people. They got this idea to make a movie. Everybody has an idea to make a movie. Everybody. I don't care, it's a guy at the Quick Trip. He's got an idea about telling a story about working at the Quick Trip. It's like you wanting to buy that car, or you wanting to do this, or you want to go to Alaska before you die, things like that. And when you do it, well, do you satisfy that? Did you get it out of your system? Yes and no, So the yes is, hey man, I got I've been wanting to do this. The no is that it? Or yeah, is that it?
Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, shot in 1996 by a filmmaker named Craig Lamp. He wanted to make an homage to the old low-budget horror pictures, so he did it in black and white. He used public domain music from that era. And it looks very much like an old, low-budget, poverty row horror picture.
I have worked with Craig Lamb on a number of different things. He is a very gifted person. With what he had, he made a very good movie. He had very little to work with.
I decided to do a horror film because I've always been a horror fan. Classic monsters, Universal monsters. I based the story of the Curse of the Mummy's Tomb basically on all of the other classic monster movies from Universal and a little bit of Hammer's first mummy film.
Before now, I would never have believed in these primitive superstitions. But now I know that the curse of... That's it, apparently. It's the last entry.
When two of the biggest of the independent or poverty row studios, PRC and Monogram, they of course went away many years ago, he went and bought the trademarks. And he loved them so much. And in fact, I believe the Curse from Mummy's Tomb, he released it under the Monogram banner.
The makeup was obviously inspired by Jack Mears, and I think all of us monster kids were inspired by Jack Mears growing up. It was done with natural clay. I went out to a creek with 5-gallon buckets and dug up this clay, and I brought it back. I pretty much covered this poor fella, Tom McLean, in natural clay. I didn't have a spare feet around, so one of the guys who was playing one of the Arab bearers, he swiped one of his mother's sheets and brought it out to us, and we ripped it up and made mummy wrapping.
And in fact, the mummy ended up, they went to some conventions and things, and the mummy would show up and he would autograph pieces of the bandage that he wore.
The pre-production started quite a bit earlier. We had to build all the prop, the artifact, the sarcophagus. My wife and I built everything. I mean, we were literally using, pop bottles and styrofoam ice chest and whatever we could gather up to make these props. We marketed the movie through Famous Monsters of Filmland, which had been revived at that point in time, and then through FilmFact. Nowadays, you can get your movie out there. You can get your movie out there all day long. Whether you can make a dime at it is another question. In those days, at least you had video stores all around the country. You had that whole market. If you could get a distributor to pick you up and take you to video, well, then you could potentially make some money. And since I only spent $75 on the entire movie, I made a profit pretty quick.
I know it sounds ridiculous, Professor, but all the evidence suggests that there's something, well, almost supernatural going on here.
We had John on the set. We had John out there playing one of the archaeologists from a previous expedition that wound up being a mummy victim.
I'm always getting killed in these pictures. I've amassed quite a lineup of cameos in these things.
Well, the reviews were mixed, obviously, and I fully understand that. I mean, it was a low-grit production. We shot it in not 7 consecutive days, but 7 days.
But Professor McBride, surely no one would have funded the expedition if their theories had no basis in fact.
We made what we could make and what we were capable of. I mean, I shot this thing on a VHS camera. Okay.
So you mean you'll fund the expedition?
Fund it, my boy. I'm in it.
Making our mummy film, I learned that, well, let me see. What the heck did I learn? Let's see. Let me back that up. I'm not sure what the hell I learned. Didn't learn a damn thing, or I had to quit right then.
What did you find out there, Wooley?
Nothing.
Well, it's just a mummy movie. A good, fun, old-fashioned mummy movie.
You think I'm stupid? I don't know where the hell I am or what the hell you people are talking about, but I do know that I'll use this gun again.
Yeah, it worked real well the first time. Would you have it set on stun or what?
What'd you say, Puta?
Nothing. Duh.
I'd done a one-act play called Cafe Purgatory that was staged at Heller Theater. And it was about a group of people, including Elvis, who are in this kind of greasy spoon restaurant, waiting to see where they go next. They're all dead.
Well, good morning, sunshine. Y'all know Elvis Presley, don't you?
Think of our minds. You know what? I'd like to see some of those old boys again. Old Cash, Perkins, Charlie Rich, old Jerry Lee. You know, I wonder if those old boys are still out there making music.
Leo and I wrote it together. Leo directed it. I produced it. Well, Leo, here we are in your office.
Yes.
And I don't see a Cafe Purgatory poster up here.
Well, I don't have one. I don't understand why.
I think why is because we never actually had a true poster.
Where the hell am I? You tell her she gets it.
I'm going to give it to you straight.
Tell her she gets it.
And this is...
Have it your way.
You're not helping your cause any, boy. If she's dead, then we're not.
Once Cafe Purgatory as the play, the run was done, you and I started, as I'm remembering, you and I started talking about doing a movie, because we'd been wanting to do a movie together, and I knew you'd done Hell High.
You had written a play, and I, of course, loved it, and it's a great idea, but I thought, as a film, it needed some tweaking.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the best cafe around. I'm Nathan Somerset. I'll be your kitchen technician. What can I get for you?
You can give me your phone, pal. Too sweet.
Sorry, no can do.
Oh, you mean there's no phone in this dump?
Afraid not. Well, where's the closest one? What?
I think it'd be best if y'all just sit down and let Nanny make you something to eat. Hi, I'm Wanda, the waitress, part-time owner.
The proprietors were Melanie Fry, who was a huge force in Tulsa theater, and Bill Boyce. Horror film buffs know him as the young male lead in The Slime People. And Milton Berry is there playing a convict. Also, we had Milton's daughter, Anna.
Hi there, honey. You hungry?
Yeah, this is it.
The whole story was set in this restaurant.
I remember that door and coming in and then looking to my left and seeing Elvis and then Melanie with her big sweet face. And I found it so fascinating when I watched the movie again. I still remember the script. It was, you know, how it's like muscle memory where you can sit back at a piano and play. I don't remember it verbatim, but I still remembered, oh, Klingons, or whatever these weird little moments were.
Gotta help him. His face is kind of twisted up.
Yeah, he looks like a Klingon.
Why don't you elevate his feet?
What about the shower scene?
Now what happened on
that? I showed that to my daughter who's 9, and she's like, her face. You're in your shower. It's the opening of the movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
You're in your shower with this terrifying, like, Hannibal Lecter monologue.
Oh, yeah. What?
They have what you want, and their spirit, their person, doesn't matter. And when I take it, it feels good. When I get out of here, I'm going to be a good boy. I'm going to be really a good boy. Watch me.
Oh boy.
When you would walk out, right, when everyone would be here for their departure, right, and rewatching the movie, how they leave. And I guess we put a trash bag or something here to block whatever. And you can see that.
Here, why don't you take this cake with you? Go now.
And I thought the film, because of the purgatory connection, I liked the idea of that, sitting around waiting to go.
who's going to go next, you know, and where am I going, and the anticipation and the nervousness. So I thought that was cool. That was good.
It played several film festivals. I say several, it played a few film festivals. And I think we probably did the best at the 1999 Fort Worth Film Festival, where it was given the Crowd Pleaser Award. We got good reviews. We were reviewed in Videoscope magazine. We got some wonderful reviews, but we were never able to get a national distributor.
It was just a real enjoyable experience. We all came together. They believed in our vision.
I'm proud of Cafe Purgatory. We accomplished a lot, and I'm very proud of the actors in that. They were wonderful.
I'll make sure and tell whoever's in charge over there that I don't hold a grudge.
Before we started our first film, we thought we're going to do a little research. We went to a convention where I met a distributor out of Phoenix, Arizona, and he said, okay, if you're going to do a horror film, this is the formula. You got to have a killing every 15 minutes. You know, you got to have a chase. And you might have the occasional little nudity scene, but that is your formula. Definitely a killing every 15 minutes.
Darla Enlow and Dana Pike came along with Dex Monkey Productions in the early 2000s. And they made toe tags, branded, and in a kind of a closing the circle thing, they made a film called The Stitcher, which was released to home video by VCI, which of course was the descendant of United Entertainment, who had released Blood Cult, The Ripper, and Revenge. So there's a nice closing the circle thing there.
We started Next Monkey because we were so tired of working on people's projects and then they never finished them. We met on a film one night shooting, oh my gosh, here in Tulsa, like midnight. And I was running camera for somebody and she was Guitar Girl. And I was like, hey, Guitar Girl, can you move here? Can you do this and that? And so the film once again never finished. So I called Guitar Girl and we went out and had lunch and we're like, okay, we're gonna do it ourselves.
I had a toe tag come up missing again, and conveniently enough, it was one that was supposed to be attached to one of your bodies.
Who in the hell would want to steal a toe tag?
Horror has absolutely just been a love of ours. We love horror films, so there was no doubt. If we were going to shoot a movie, it was going to be horror. The gorier, the bloodier, the more chase, the better.
They got their films made sometimes with a two-man crew.
This is the crew. This is the crew. This is sound, this is camera, this is editing, this is music, this is craft services, this is the costumes. So that was the very challenging part, was just doing everything yourself.
Kate!
When we did the film Toe Tags, we were both working, and I worked at some apartment complexes here in town. So that really allowed us to have access to various locations, interiors. We found that the people were really excited to come and be an actor and be on the set.
Say hello to my little friend. Are you talking to me?
Dana and I decided if we were going to do this right, we needed to come up with a way to kind of ensure that the actors would be there. Although they enjoyed being on camera, you know, we want to be professional. So we decided that we're going to pay our actors, we're going to provide craft services, and depending on which movie it was, Some of the movies, we set an amount. We didn't do a daily thing, we set an amount. This is your amount for this role, for this film. And we would pay them half when they finished the film, and then half when we sold the movie.
I worked on some of the Next Monkey production films with Darla Inlow. And those productions actually fun. I got to do a lot of makeup on that. They brought me in as a makeup guy. They showed a clip of the Mummy movie, our Mummy movie, on television or something. I gave them permission to do that because they needed something on the screen, and of course they poked fun at it, which was fine with me.
Great. Another movie that sucks.
We contacted Brain Damage Films. Dana and I got in the car. He's like, mail us a copy of your movie. And we're like, we worked too hard to mail that. We're not gonna mail it. We're gonna get in the car, we're gonna drive it down there. So we drove through the mountains, through the snow with our movies, met with Brain Damage Films. And as far as distribution goes, he handled all of that. So once Dana and I got going on our own movie projects, we decided it would probably be better. And that's another thing our distributor out of Arizona told us, get one done, don't wait, do the next one. So we had 2 projects lined up, so we shot Toe Tags, got it done, took a small break, started casting for Brandon, and then got right in on shooting that one.
3 little monkeys jumping on the bed. One fell off, now she's dead.
Crash, do you believe these murders could be the work of a disturbed band?
Rock singer Steiger is accused of sick, twisted, brutal murders.
I've already seen the killer.
It's not Mitch.
Who said it was?
He's being set up.
He's not even a suspect.
Are the nightmarish visions and grisly crimes only in his mind?
The Toe Tags was pretty much just kind of a straightforward slasher film. Branded, we used local bands. We had more marketing material, more photographs, got more out in the magazines, did more interviews, because by this time, we had really started putting Next Monkey Productions together. And Dana and I had really focused on, hey, we're women in film, women in horror film. You know, we probably need to play on that a little bit. So about the time we hit Branded, we were really playing that side of the coin as well.
Our story kind of got really deep, I think, with Branded. It was about child abuse, it was about drug use, the effects on a child as they grow up, just the mental state. So I think that Branded, we really kind of jumped in there and really got deep in the story. Early on in the Next Monkey career, Dana and I really did play a lot of hats because, as you mentioned earlier, we didn't really have a lot of actors. So we wanted to do some of the scenes ourselves. So one night, way out in the middle of Spapa, in a barn by ourselves, the killer is killing me and my hands are tied. So Dana's running sound, plus she's trying to be the killer. I'm reaching out with my toe trying to hit the camera so we can get the record button on because she's got to be out of the scene and I'm screaming. So anyway, we had, Hey, but we pulled it off, so you know. Yes, we did.
Okay, teacher movie.
Teacher movie. We're checking notes. We never go without checking notes.
No, we don't. We fired Dana.
Not really.
Sleep boom, girl. Not really. Dana's banging the pole.
Not really.
Who's saying not really? You can't sometimes write things as good as life. So I did a little research and I found a guy, a serial killer back in the late 1800s, and his deal was he killed people and collected trophies. And the trophies he collected was the buttons off of their clothing.
sick joke to get me out here, huh? Where's the hidden camera? Oh, buttons and fake blood. That's a nice touch.
So after we finished toe tags and branded and had the distributor in Phoenix, we decided we wanted to up the game. We wanted to do better than what we had done. More cast, more band involvement. And oddly enough, at that time, we had no idea that there was a local distributor here in Tulsa called VCI.
Darla brought in her short film, and she said she wanted to turn that into a feature length. She had financing to do the movie. She just needed a distributor to sign on.
Hello, anyone? I need help!
Who the hell are you knocking at my door at supper time?
I'm sorry, sir, but there's been a murder. Several of them. I need your help.
Better come in.
Deputy Cedar asked me to come here. I need the extra set of keys to the sheriff's truck.
You look like one of them guys from my favorite movie.
What?
I bet you could squeal like a pig. You know what movie I'm talking about, boy?
My friends are dead and the killer's
still... You know what movie I'm
Sir, just...
No. Don't be so jumpy.
We did help with the post-production. We did a lot of the final editing, and we provided the music score.
Get it now, boy? You get it?
No, I give up.
We just really kind of wanted to take and ramp it up even a little bit more, make each picture be better and better.
Deliverance. The name of the movie is Deliverance.
We had an idea, what if we have a contest where bands can submit their music, we'll take the top 10 bands, take their songs, they each get 2 songs across the soundtrack. We had everything all picked out and somebody called us and they said, you need to come hear this guy and he wants to be on your movie. So we're like, well, okay, but we've already got him picked out, but we'll go. So we go and listen to this guy and we're like, yeah, we appreciate it, but we already got our 10 picked out, we're good. 3 weeks later, we turn him down and he wins American Idol. So it was David Cook. Stitching the Stitcher together. He showed up, Dana's getting all his stuff together. She's worked very hard on costuming. We have his mask over here. It came in from the United Kingdom because we couldn't find anything here that we liked.
I made the Stitcher costume and it was fun. I had to make it twice. The first time, our first actor who played the Stitcher kind of ruined it. Rubbed it on a car engine to get some oil on it, and so then it was horribly stinky and it was terrible. So I made another one, which was probably a blessing in disguise because the second one was better.
When we first started the Stitcher, we were trying to decide what kind of outfit would he be in. We wanted him to be unique. We didn't want him to look like your average killer. They all seem to almost run on the same genre. They all have the zip-up jumpsuit and the tote sack for their mask, and we just decided, let's try to be different.
If you see Halloween, if you see Friday the 13th, the killer's just always like lurching down the road, not the Stitcher. If you'll notice on our mannequin, he don't have boots, he has tennis shoes. The Stitcher will come and get you. He can run, he will run. So we shot big percentage of the stitcher here in my house. And this is the game room where we filmed Justin squaring off with the stitcher. So we are outside our house now, and we had a scene out here by the pool where we got one shot. It was a one take, and that's when Laurel has had enough of the stitcher, and she rears back and slaps him. And he pushes her into the pool. And we knew we didn't want to start with the blow dryers and the towels and the new wardrobe, so we were like, okay, we got to get this in one shot. So we got everything all set up, and Mark set go, pow, and back she fell into the pool, and it was perfect, one shot. So by the time the stitcher was finished, we were screening it, we had already seen this huge change in the market, and yet here we are. You know, we have our product. Well, what are we going to do now? So that's when we kind of changed gears and thought, okay, well, then what we need to do is hit the film festival circuit, have a booth, have the stitcher there, have all of our films there. Women in horror, you know, come in here, let's make a presence. Let's try to get as many write-ups as we can, and the magazines while they're still out there, because now we're seeing all the magazines go digital. We kind of came into the stitcher not really realizing that the market was getting ready to turn and do something else.
They were in the business at a time when it was much, much harder to get noticed. Had they been around when the whole thing started, it might have been a far different story.
At that point, I think we just kind of realized, you know what, we've been doing this for 10 years. It's been a great ride. We've had a blast. We've met so many people, wouldn't take anything for, you know, the time we spent, but I think we're done.
In many ways, as far as Tulsa movies go, certainly, the stitcher was the end of an era. It closed the circle that began 20 years earlier with Blood Cult. Things have changed so drastically that it's not like it was, and it never will be like it was. And so that 20 years was an era in which Tulsa really led the way in making direct-to-video movies.
We were pioneers during that time, and it was a fun time. It was exciting because it did bring a lot of attention to the company and what we were doing. And I am, you know, very happy and grateful to have been part of it.
The stories that have been written about this and the legacy work, I think, is that we kind of opened up the opportunity for anybody to try their hand at making a movie. And I think that's what I know Chris was very proud of that, and I am too.
You know, at the time, I don't know that we thought that we were blazing new trails or doing anything. We were really just working very hard to get a sense of that you could make movies here in Oklahoma.
Looking back on those movies we did back in the 80s, it was a great experience.
I would say if you're going to make an independent low-budget film, you better do it because you love it.
I should think that would be obvious.
Please hurry, sir. My friend is in danger.
I just love that movie.